welcome back to the garden. Today I'd like to give you a tour of my cottage garden. We're at the end of August and there are some wonderful blooms I'd like to share with you. I want to start in the main flower bed because it's looking particularly lush at the moment. And my new plant obsession is this absolutely gorgeous Rudbeckia fulgida little gold star. I actually purchased this last year and used it in container plantings and then popped it in the ground, and I'm so glad I did. Even though I was thinking the yellow might be a little bit difficult to pair with other colors, it is looking stunning, has been blooming for 4 weeks. A showstopper right now for your gardens at the end of summer, early fall. So I would highly recommend adding it to the garden. Another perennial I would highly encourage you to add to your flower beds is Stachys byzantina or Lampshear. It does flower in the spring, but it's mostly grown as a foliage plant, and I think you can see why. It has the loveliest silvery blue foliage, which also has a beautiful fuzzy texture and is resisting extremely nicely to clay soil. Right next to it, I had added 3 plants of Eringeron carvinskianus or Mexican fleabane, and this has been the longest blooming and most resilient plant in my garden. It deals really well with drier soils or really harsh growing conditions, so it's also really good for containers. I actually added in some containers and I really like that it was drawing the similar interest from the containers to the ground and is a must grow. Verbena is another one of those tough perennials that will handle quite a range of soils and growing conditions and will flower all summer long. It is also highly attractive to bees and butterflies, so if you want to attract those in your garden, this is a must plant. It also has those really wispy purple blooms and towers over the rest, so it gives also the garden a wild look. Of course, for a nearly full garden tour, I couldn't leave out my little sedums. I absolutely love this variety. It's called Autumn Joy. It's a classic. It produces a cluster of lovely pink blooms. I actually divided it a couple of times. Fall is actually a great time to do that and set it up in 4 different areas in the flower bed to get that repeat interest and that rhythm in the planting. In the little central island, one of the highlights is of course this gorgeous eucalyptus tree. Unpopular opinion, this is actually to me both a summer plant and a winter plant to create beautiful wreaths, so comment below if it's for you summer, winter, or like me, both. I think this can be used year round. I love the blue hues. And I actually repeated that beautiful silvery blue pattern in some curry plants or talictrum that flowered in a beautiful yellow, and this is why I also paired it with yellow petunias and then wanted to bring in a contrast, a more moody plant with these potato vine plants that are doing really well actually. The nasturtiums we started from seed earlier in the season are still going strong. And of course, it couldn't be August without talking about dahlias, which are actually the crown jewel of this little container grouping. I paired them with some grasses for movement and I love this variety. It's called Anemone Takeoff. It is not very stable. I have some blooms that have this really fluffy creamy center and some others that are a bit more simple, but I love it anyway. And I paired it with a Colrette Dahlia, which are amazing for bees because of the open center. Dahlias are great both in containers and in the ground, so the flower bed is peppered with dahlias, notably a beautiful Howard Thomas with that vibrant orange and some cafe au laits, which are great performers. A little bit earlier in the season, we had a wonderful clustered rose blooming and some echinaceas and then the dahlias, and this was a lovely pairing to me. And yes, I am utterly obsessed with echinaceas. This is Cheyenne Spirit, and again, it has been blooming for a couple of weeks now, nearly over a month, and is a great perennial for that end of summer color. Again, this is a plant that I first used in a container planting and then reused in the ground. That's a great way to save on cost and keep filling your garden. If you love white, this Coreopsis Fool's Gold paired with this variegated carex is a go-to combination for me. I love the pop of brightness that it brings, and again, they have survived the clay soil. This double geranium we added last year when we planted this border in a mini makeover series also has come back proudly, and this panico too. Again, you can see I really love blue, but I think it's a really cooling color, especially paired with some whites and greens. And some cosmos seedlings escape the slug, so that's always a bonus. We had also started some sweet peas, but sadly things didn't go quite to plan. Sadly, I don't have really good luck with my sweet peas this year. I did get a couple of blooms, but that's marginal. I think they don't get enough sun where they are, because you can see we're getting still a lot of shade from the neighboring trees, and so basically this whole side of the flower bed and that little vegetable patch doesn't get as much sun. Actually, we do have a little dahlia here that has been stalling for a while, so I think this is why. So next year I might move these. Earlier this summer, we also planted some shade containers about the same time where we did the island on the terrace. And well, I'm cheating here a little bit because I'm also showing you footage from a little bit earlier on, but this beautiful lobelia did bloom for nearly 2 months. They brought a wonderful pop of color. Just the foliage is giving so much interest with the beautiful heucheras and terrellas and the glossy leaves of the camellia. I really love how this shade area turned out. Another little flower bed that we planted very recently, I think in the latest video actually, is around the column. It needed a big revamp after Simba and Sushi were basically using the grass beds as a roosting area, and I added some lovely roses. The roses are scented actually, and I paired them with some gora for movement and some geraniums to have a beautiful lush underplanting, so I can't wait to see how this area develops. And across from it, we have what I nicknamed the Woodland garden, even though it's simply a shaded area under one oak tree we have in the back garden. But one Amy Major seedling did survive, and I'm hoping that it's going to self-seed everywhere and spread, and we're going to have those beautiful white flowers spreading everywhere next year. A recurring maintenance task in the garden is of course deadheading. The plant needed a cutback, and I chose it actually because its foliage is silvery, again to tie in that accent from the eucalyptus, from the lamb's ear, and also because it stays evergreen. I try to be mindful of that when choosing and adding plants to the garden, making sure that there is something like a color, a texture, that ties in with the planting that's already existing. This way, even though I don't reuse exactly the same plant, there's still that repetition effect of color and texture that helps make the planting feel more cohesive. So definitely keep deadheading and keep watering the garden. You can still have some wonderful blooms late into the season, especially if, like me, you're in an area that doesn't get really harsh winter. Plants like dahlias, for example, will produce until November, if not December in some areas. With all this artwork comes one of the best rewards to me, is being able to harvest some flowers from my own garden and create little bouquets. They don't have to be very complicated to bring joy and green into the house, and it really makes a world of difference to me to have those fresh flowers in the house that come from the garden. It's extremely rewarding. There are actually more jobs that you can get a head start on to prepare your garden for fall. So I'll link a video below with my top 13 jobs that I do from September through to October, November to get my garden at its best and save plants and just make sure everything stays happy for the new growing season. I hope you enjoyed this garden tour. I can't wait to finish developing the new areas we're growing in the garden. I'm thinking of the little area near the hydrangeas. I need to keep planning that. And I also have a couple of new containers that I want to fill in for fall, so stay tuned for that. We'll probably go shopping and do a whole planting video. I just love doing those. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Simba wants to help. Yeah?